Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Cars with Big Boy Trev. I am Big Boy Trev.
My name is Mirigi.
And today we are at the home of Volkswagen right here in Kenya at the DTW showroom. And guess what? We are sampling the brand new Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace that's built right here in Kenya. But before that,
let's check out the highlights of today's show.
This week on Cars with Big Boy Trev, we review the Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace off-roader, now built right here in Kenya. We analyze its cabin comfort, innovative technologies, engine performance, fuel efficiency, and of course, give you the value for money proposition against its rivals, the Toyota RAV4 and the Nissan X-Trail. Catch this and much more only on Cars with Big Boy Trev every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. only on KTN Home.
Hi guys and welcome to Cars with Big Boy Trev. We are here today with a very exciting vehicle. We have with us the Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace. This of course now is being assembled right here in Kenya in Thika at the KVM factory, and we finally have our hands on it and we're going to take you through the car right now. So we're going to go through the exterior, the interior, we're going to show you the power this car has, what it can carry, and why we think this should be the car for you. So starting of course out here with the design, and as you can see, this has Volkswagen's brand new design language. It looks incredible. It is a very big departure from the previous generation of the Tiguan. This of course now has been made to look more muscular, more angular, and you can see it looks like it has more presence on the road. Now, there are actually going to be 3 different models that are available of this car. This is the mid-spec level, so it has a little less chrome, a little less LED than the other versions that are available. So I can just take you through that right now. This, of course, being the standard car, has the normal halogen lamps over here. In the higher spec version, they have, of course, LED lamps are available, including LED daytime running lights. So this just has a small LED daytime running light and, of course, fog lamps which come as standard. On the higher spec version, there's a lot more chrome in the front here, but as we said, this, of course, now is the mid-spec version. Moving over to the side, and you can see that muscular presence is still there. Very serious detail lines over here. Over the bonnet are pulling over off to the side of the car, as you can see. So you have actually a detail line running all the way from the front to the rear of the vehicle. Now coming to the back, as you are used to seeing me talking about the boot of a car, we can look at the back over here, and that design, the new design of now Volkswagen in the front, has been translated to the back. So we have these new LED rear tail lights and a very nice looking boot over here. I'll take you through, of course, the boot and the boot capacity later on in the show. But it's time for us to take this to the interior and let Trevor let you know how this car stands against the competition.
So guys, you've seen from the walk around the design perspective of this Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace that's built right here in Kenya. Volkswagen have the design language that runs across all their models, from the Polo to the Golf to the Jetta to the Passat and even to the Big Boy, which we tested earlier on Cars with Big Boy Trev, the Touareg. So matters are not different with this particular design phase of the Tiguan. As you step inside, I can tell you for a fact that Volkswagen are not playing. They've gone for the edgy, sharp look design, very sharp, sophisticated, and it sets it apart from the traditional soft roaders from Japan, which have softer curvy lines. Soft touch leather on top, and of course you can see some stainless steel excerpts just to give this car that je ne sais quoi. And of course the air vents are finished with piano black, finished with some trim as well of that stainless steel, that frame around it, just to give it that premium look and feel. Now obviously as you move towards the center console, the highlight is this 10-inch multicolor display, high definition, courtesy of Volkswagen, and it houses all the major things that control certain aspects of the car. Right below it, you do have the climate control, or climatronic in Volkswagen terms. Now basically this climatronic system is the AC. Now it's a 3-zone AC system, not 2. So basically the passenger and the driver have their own settings, and of course at the back they also have their own settings, so that the cabin atmosphere can be varied based on the preferences of every individual passenger. Individuality is the name of the game. Now moving over to the gearbox console again, traditional Volkswagen gate shift design, and of course on the left hand side you do have the electronic park brake auto hold that comes in handy when in traffic, and of course on the right hand side you do have park assist, which you're going to test out later on Cars with Big Boy Trev. It makes parking easier, so if you struggle to get over parking at the shopping mall, then this particular car is a car for you. Again, if we move over to the instrument binnacle, this particular one that we have has a traditional needle and stock design, which is still standard Volkswagen, still has that visibility that Volkswagen has. Light blue hue over a black background gives this car that ability to, send information to the driver without taking your eyes off the road. And in between, you have a digital display reader that gives you all the vital information. Big Boy is quite comfortable, as you can see. I am 6'1" and I've not moved the seat. I'm telling you, I'm very, very comfortable. It has lumbar and height support, so anybody who's tall or wide like me are able to adjust the settings and be able to drive this particular car quite easily. Now, I've said enough for the overview. Now it's time for us to dive deep into the world of the multimedia interface courtesy of Volkswagen via our technology expert, Mr. Miregi.
Now, when it comes to technology, the Volkswagen Tiguan, I have to say, is very, very well spec'd. This is a car, of course, that is built for the growing urban millennial family, and they have not come to play when it comes to that. So in terms of the driver assistance packages this car has, like Trevor has mentioned, there's a lot in terms of technology to make sure that you're safe when you're on the road, because this is a family car, and they've mentioned, so you have, of course, electronic stability control, you have a full suite of things to make sure that you're safe when you're on the road. But like Trevor keeps saying, the most important thing, of course, is you making sure that you're focusing on the road, and these systems allow you to do that, because we kept saying this all the time. You need to keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. But I cannot talk about technology in this car without mentioning this beautiful 8-inch touchscreen display. Now, this is one of the biggest changes over the previous generation Tiguan, and this is a fantastic system. So obviously we'll start, of course, with the media. You have access to radio. You actually do have a CD player. It's, of course, in the dashboard over here. So you actually have access to a CD player. You have an SD card that you can put in there that can access this system. In addition to that, of course, we have auxiliary in. This is connected by Bluetooth as well. And we have a USB over there just for charging your devices, as well as plugging in the phone over here, because this beautiful display has both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. When you look at the car settings, there's actually quite a lot that is happening here. We have access to a tire pressure monitor system, which actually is very interesting, because in addition to just telling you how much pressure you have in each tire, you can actually also tell the car how many people you have in the car, so that you can tell you whether it is the optimal tire pressure for the trip that you happen to be on. So the technology in this car is only here to make sure that you have a good time, to make sure that you're safe, and to help you on a day-to-day basis. Something that's very interesting in this car is that it has driver profiles. Now, one of the interesting things about that is that you can actually set a driver profile for each person that happens to be driving the car. Now, the next thing that we can go into, of course, is the driving modes, because this has driving modes both for when you're on tarmac and when you're off-road, because we call this, of course, the all-road. For 4Motion, of course, 4-wheel drive system. So first thing, obviously, we can look into is the on-road driving modes. So this actually has 4 driving modes that are available for when you're driving on tarmac. So the first is the eco mode, which basically is to help you to save fuel. Then we have the normal mode, obviously for everyday driving, which you'd call comfort on other vehicles. Then you can put it into sport mode, which we're going to take you through, because this, of course, comes as standard with a 7-speed dual clutched gearbox to make sure that you get the most out of that beautiful engine in the front there. Then, like we have been mentioning from day one, customization is the name of the game over here. So you have an individual setting that allows you to specify what specific in the settings that you want to do. So if you like the steering wheel controls to be soft and you want the steering, the throttle response to be fast, you actually can manage that in that individual control. That, of course, also now is mirrored in the off-road settings of this vehicle. So you can set it into off-road, and it has one off-road setting and one individual off-road setting, which allows you now to change settings of the steering, your drive mode. You can decide to change your 4-wheel drive to be more accurate for off-road driving. You can change the air conditioning, and you can also switch on hill descent assist and hill hold assist, which come as standard with the 4-wheel drive system in this car. If you get the high-spec version of the Volkswagen Tiguan, which is a 5-door, it also comes with park assist, which can actually physically put the car into and out of any parking that you need to be in. So like we have mentioned, loads of technology in this vehicle. But at the end of the day, is it a comfortable place to sit? Let's check into the back and see what this car feels like as an experience for the people in the back. Coming round to the back of the Volkswagen Tiguan, and we are in the Allspace version, of course, now, which is the longer one. It's a 7-seater, and that means, of course, that you have loads of space. So practicality is the name of the game with this vehicle. So let me start, of course, now with the technology, because technology still extends all the way to the back over here. So like I had mentioned in the front there's 3-zone climate control, which means that temperature can be set for the driver, separate from the passenger, and then the third zone over here is the back. So you can actually change the temperature at the back over here. In terms of space, as you can see, this seat is set to Trevor's driving position. He's 6'1", I'm 5'9", and you can see for yourself there's more than enough space for both my knees and for my feet under here. The transmission tunnel over here is actually very thin, so somebody sitting in the middle is actually able to sit fairly comfortably at the back over here. The other thing I have to note, of course, is that everything that you're touching, of course, is actually pretty nice. It's a bit hard plastic, but it feels good in the hand, I have to say. It actually feels like it's going to be hard wearing, because at the end of the day, like I mentioned, this is a car for families. In the higher spec version, of course, you actually do have a picnic table in the back seat of both the driver and the passenger over here that allows you to either eat when you're on the move or to use your laptop in the back of this car, which I find very important. In addition to that, when it comes to storage, we have over here roof storage in the 7-seat version, so there's additional space in the top over here for you to put the stuff that you need. It actually has a trick up its sleeve for the people in the middle row, which is the fact that you can actually move the seat forward or back to give the people at the back more space, or to give you yourself more space when you have it in a 5-seat configuration. In addition to that, you can actually recline the seat on a long trip to make sure that you're very comfortable. Speaking of being comfortable, you also have an armrest in the middle over here, so that you can put your hands in the middle here, and 3 spaces for drinks to make sure that they're secure when you're driving this car. Let's move into the third row to check out these 2 extra seats to see why they call this the Allspace. Coming down to the third row of the Tiguan Allspace, and as you can see, it's a bit of a tight space. So I'd say this is a place that only you can put children at the back here, honestly, because I don't think an adult would sit here for a long period of time. But for children, it will be extremely comfortable at the back here. It's big enough for them. There's actually additional storage space at the back here, including a cup holder on the left over there. And there are 3-point safety belts at the back here, so you are sure that they can be safe. Now let's check into the boot to see just how much space that a car called an Allspace has at the boot. Coming round to the back of the Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace, and the boot opens to reveal. As you can see, not too much space with all 7 seats up, just enough, of course, for maybe a big suitcase or 3 or 4 small bags that are available. But this car is called the Allspace for a reason. It is 300 millimeters longer than the normal Tiguan, and what that allows you to do when you put these seats down is give you a class-leading 700 liters of boot capacity, which is a massive amount of space, as you can see inside here, and it's very usable because it is incredibly flat all the way from the entrance all the way down till those second row seats over here. Now, loads of space available, including under here, which is something that I like a lot. They've actually put the tonneau cover, which would hide the back seat over here, the boot. It's actually able to be stored over here very easily. And in addition to that, we have, of course, a space saver spare tire to make sure that you're kept on the move when you're on a long road trip. Speaking of a road trip, it's time for us to test out the engine of the Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace. Let's go.
So guys, you've seen from the walk around what the Volkswagen Allspace is all about. It's all about practicality in a Volkswagen package, and you know the Germans know how to package a product of this nature very, very well. Of course, you know it exists in an area where there's so much competition. The likes of the Toyota RAV4, the Nissan X-Trail, the Hyundai Santa Fe, and many others that are in this category. But today, it's all about this Volkswagen that is built right here in Kenya, the Tiguan Allspace. So let's start with the performance aspect of this particular vehicle. Of course, you do know that Volkswagen actually have a range of engines that offer good efficiency, good power, and of course, gives you that durability that you so desire. So this particular version of the Tiguan Allspace has the 2-liter TSI turbo petrol, 16-valve, and of course it produces 180 horsepower and 320 Newton meters of torque, which, when I decide to slow it down, listen to that, revs all the way to 6,000, and of course the power is sent to the 4 wheels courtesy of a 7-speed dual clutch transmission DSG. I'm telling you, lightning quick responses, and it responds to your foot. Bury the foot down and it gives you this kind of power, 180 horsepower, which makes this car one of the best performing crossovers in the market. And of course, if you want sporty driving and in sport mode, listen to that. DSG just delivers, changes the gears, knows when you want to accelerate, and of course allows you to explore the full potential of this 2-liter engine. And of course, if you drive it calmly like now, you're able to return a fuel consumption figure, averaged and combined, of 5.6 liters per 100 kilometers from this 2-liter. I'm telling you, German efficiency and engineering at its best. And that is something that I say the Germans are very good at. Well, the steering is sharp and precise. Typical Volkswagen. You know why the nose is pointing, and of course, it's been tuned on low speed. Of course, there's plenty of travel, but at high speed, it beefs up so that you're able to, know where the nose is. You're able to control the car very effectively. Now, obviously, as well, handling contributes a lot to the steering wheel and of course even suspension. Speaking of suspension, up front you do have McPherson struts. At the back you do have multi-link independent suspension that allows you to ensure that this particular car is planted on tarmac, and of course gives you some good clearance when you're doing off-roading, which Mr. Mirig is going to do later. Now all that power needs control, and what Volkswagen have done is to ensure that this particular vehicle meets and exceeds the safety requirements of soft roaders. And I can tell you, Volkswagen don't play when it comes to safety. They are actually very good at developing systems with Bosch to ensure that you remain safe at any given time. You want to know if this car can do some light off-roading. When you go to shacks, when you're going off-roading, can this car be able to handle the rough roads of our country? We're going to jump in and hand over the reins with Mr. Mirigi, is going to give us a lowdown on the 4Motion technology, the different modes that this particular has, and of course, after that, value for money. Do you reckon this particular car is better than its rivals? Stay tuned.
So, the Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace has a 4Motion 4-wheel drive system, which we're going to test out right now. Now, it operates in 2 different modes. So, there's the driving mode that is usually on the car when the car is on tarmac. So actually the car has driving modes for tarmac, and when it's in tarmac, what the car is doing with the 4-wheel drive system is trying to make sure that it has maximum traction on a tarmac surface, as well as letting you corner a lot faster than you would imagine in a car of this size. Also, in the rain, it actually is very good because it allows the car to drive at a higher speed than it would usually, or to maintain itself very safely on a slippery surface. So I'm going to switch it into off-road, and I had mentioned earlier that this actually has 2 off-road modes, the standard off-road mode and one that allows you to individually change the individual settings in the off-road mode. So what this car does in that off-road mode is that it changes the sensitivity of the steering, the sensitivity of the throttle response, the gearbox, how fast it's going to change, and it changes the 4-wheel drive system to make sure that you get 50% to the front, 50% to the back full time. So as we're going over here, you can see the car has some very good ground clearance, which obviously helps with the suspension, makes it softer when you're going over a situation like this. Now, most of the people who drive a car like this are going to be taking it off the road, basically just to take it off the tarmac. So in a situation that we happen to be in right now, you're going to do something interesting, zip lining and the like, or you're going to check out the site or the shamba. And this, I have to say, can actually do that pretty well. Like we have said, of course, now the steering has changed and it's actually a lot sharper, which allows you now to get around obstacles a lot better. The throttle response on this is also very nice. Like we had mentioned, this has a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, but it has, in this setting, obviously, it just keeps the car on the lowest gear possible so that you have the most power in a situation like this, so that you can get yourself out of any tricky situation that you happen to put yourself in. And should you require to, you can actually put your foot down and the power is there when you need it. The other thing to note is that when you put this into the off-road mode, it automatically switches on both hill start assist and hill descent control, which come as standard in this vehicle, which are features that are very important when you're off the road, because it allows you to just let the car do its thing and you just focus on steering and keeping your eyes on what's happening on the ground. Now, in terms of keeping your eyes on things, we need to talk about the price. Let's go to value for money.
So guys, you've just reviewed the entirety of this Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace, and I can tell you it's practicality in the Volkswagen sense, and I can tell you we are impressed with this particular package. Mr. Murigi, your highlights of this particular car?
Well, I can say with confidence that this is the best locally assembled vehicle that we have in the market right now in terms of the design and what they have available. Like Trevor had mentioned, this of course is a fantastic package. We have the brand new Volkswagen design language both on the outside and on the inside, and loads of space and technology to make sure that this is the car for you.
Now, speaking of that, how much does it cost on the road being a locally assembled vehicle?
Now, this is where things get a little interesting. Volkswagen has done a very good job with this. It is not available as just one model. We actually have a wide variety of models that are available. You can get this as a 5-seater, you can get it as a 7-seater, and there are different trim levels that are available. We have with us over here what we consider the pick of the litter. We have the Allspace, that means that it's a 7-seater, and it is the trendline version, which gives you just the tech that you need to get on the road and make sure that you're good. But prices for the entire range start at 4.6 million shillings, including VAT, and this comes with DT Dobby's 3-year or 120,000 kilometer warranty, whichever comes first.
Well, finally, we know that this particular Allspace exists in a space where there's competition. What are the key rivals in this segment?
Well, if you're going to talk about 7-seat compact SUVs, we cannot talk about this segment without talking about the Nissan X-Trail, and we can also throw in the Toyota RAV4 as something that's in this segment.
Well, guys, do you reckon this particular Allspace ticks all your boxes? Send us your thoughts as seen as the social media notes below. We'll get back to you next week with the feedback. Well, it's been an honor. Thank you so much for joining us on Cars with Big Boy Trev. Well, signing out, this is Big Boy Trev.
This is Mirigi. Drive safe
and be safe.